Hi everybody, this is TJR. Today I found out that comedian and actor Don Rickles passed away. On this channel, whenever I've talked about someone's passing, it's always been somebody in music. It's always been a musician or songwriter. This is the first time that I'm doing one of these videos where I comment on the passing of someone who was not a musician, at least to the best of my knowledge. I don't think he was. Had I been doing these when Robin Williams passed away, I definitely would have done one of these because the comedy of Robin Williams was and still is extremely important to me. And so was the comedy of Don Rickles. Don Rickles, I don't think ever really got the credit he deserved for being way ahead of his time. And I remember in the 90s, there was a whole lot of these young, vibrant, up-and-coming comedians who were considered very cutting edge and, really pushing the envelope. And a good example would be Sam Kinison, who, by the way, I thought was brilliant. I remember thinking, you guys are great. You're great. You're really funny. You're great comedic artists. But, Don Rickles was way ahead of you long before you. And I'm sure many of them, would agree with that statement. Don Rickles could be so completely outrageous, and he could do jokes about people that I don't think you could do today. I'm not sure, or at least I don't know if anybody else could really do it the way he did it. Don Rickles could sometimes be doing stand-up comedy, and he'd remove that separation of the stage and the audience, and he'd come out there, walking into an audience of people, at a dinner theater, walking through the audience of people sitting at tables, and start making fun of them. And if you didn't know anything about Don Rickles, his nickname was Mr. Warmth. He was the king of insults. And he could walk up to people, make fun of them, insult them, and get away with it because they were laughing just as hard as the rest of the audience. And he would make fun of things that we consider sensitive nowadays. He would make fun of how you dressed. If you were there with your spouse, he'd make fun of your spouse. He would make fun of your weight. Perhaps the most amazing thing is that he would walk up to people of different ethnicities. He'd make fun of their ethnicity. And they didn't get mad at him. They didn't want to sock him. They didn't get offended. They'd be laughing their heads off. I remember one time, he was doing exactly what I described, out there walking amongst the audience members, walking up to their tables. They'd be having dinner, and he walked up to an Asian gentleman and he'd say, "Oh, hello there, sir. Are you Asian?" He would not, the guy would nod back. He'd say, "Well, get your eyes fixed." The Asian gentleman would laugh just as hard as everybody else. He walked up to a young black couple and he'd be saying, "Oh, hello there. How are you? Oh, don't be nervous. Don't be afraid of me. You peoples is free now." And, they would not be offended. They'd be laughing. And, and then maybe at the same time while he was, talking to them, then he'd say, folks know I'm just kidding, right? And then he'd turn to the rest of the audience, like I'm really kidding, I'm not really kidding, even though he was. And, everybody would laugh and the people he was making fun of would be laughing just as hard. And what would set Don Rickles apart, though, is that then there'd be that moment while he was making fun, while he was insulting you, where he'd drop his character of the king of insults. He'd drop all pretenses, and suddenly he'd be sincere. And he was great at communicating this, where he'd suddenly reach over, he'd shake your hand, maybe he'd hug you, and he'd say something like, "God bless you. God bless you both. You great people. Thank you so much. You're wonderful." And he would be absolutely sincere. And in this way, he'd be saying, thank you. Thank you for letting me make fun of you. Thank you for being part of the show. Thank you for being part of my comedy. And thank you for laughing and helping everybody else laugh. And this is what separated him. And this is why I think he could get away with what he did. And it was like when you have friends. I have very close friends that I can make fun of and make fun of sensitive things, but it's okay because we're good friends. We know each other. We know it's all in good fun. You can't do that with a stranger. If I did that to a stranger, I don't recommend that because you don't know what buttons you might be pushing. But Don Rickles could do this with total strangers. And he was brilliant at that. You know, right now, actually not right now, but for quite some time now, we've been living in a world of political correctness. Sometimes political correctness is insane. It's crazy. And but if you saw my video about the song Brown Sugar by the Rolling Stones, and about how it was like, could this song come out today? I tried to make the point that sometimes political correctness is the right thing to do. Sometimes it is good to be sensitive about the feelings of others and to take care of what you say and then maybe practice a little self-censorship. We are as a society still trying to learn how to get along with each other. We're trying to learn how to be sensitive about things that like gender, race, religion, politics. I think especially in politics right now, everybody's kind of nerves are showing. We're all very easily kind of touched off, and we tend to stereotype each other, And Don Rickles, with his comedy, would say, hey, we all need to lighten up. We all need to learn how to laugh at ourselves, laugh at each other. And deep down, we're all the same. We're all the same people. And I think that's kind of the thing that not enough people give Don Rickles credit for, was what the kind of the unspoken message of his comedy was that if we can all learn to laugh at ourselves and laugh at each other and be okay with it, maybe we can all get along a little bit better. And at any rate, though, I'm just remembering the great comedy of Don Rickles. And if you have anything you'd like to say about him or about his comedy, I would love to read your comments. And thank you so much for watching, everybody. Bye-bye.
This is the 8th appearance you've made on this show.
I'll drop my pants and fire a rocket.